are learning new details now about the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Authorities believe that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is the shooter. Utah's governor saying investigators believe that Robinson acted alone and had an extensive plan of what he wanted to do. Robinson reportedly expressed opposition to Charlie Kirk's conservative viewpoints in the past, both in person and on social media. Our national correspondent Mara Barrett has our details.
A whirlwind 33 hours for investigators here from that initial single shot fired on campus here at Utah Valley University on Wednesday to the overnight arrest of the suspected shooter on Thursday. The details of the arrest shared first not by law enforcement, but by President Donald Trump. President Trump broke the news personally Friday morning on Fox and Friends.
We have him in custody. Essentially, somebody that was very close to him turned him in.
Just a few hours later in Orem, Utah, on the same campus where conservative activist Charlie Kirk was murdered, FBI Director Kash Patel described the arrest in more detail.
The suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise.
Authorities say the suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, went back home to Washington County, Utah, more than 250 miles from the crime scene, and confessed to his family, who contacted police. Officials believe Robinson acted alone.
Yeah.
Governor, do you have any details on how he got back to Washington County and how the gun was obtained?
How we obtained the gun was found.
No, how the shooter obtained the gun and how the shooter then was able to get back to Washington County.
So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
While it's unclear if Robinson obtained the weapon legally, Governor Spencer Cox described inscriptions allegedly written on ammunition casings, including the words, "Hey fascist, catch," along with apparent references to online memes. The meaning and origin of what he allegedly wrote is unclear. Cox said family members described Robinson as having become increasingly political and focused on Kirk, who he believed was spreading hate.
The very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas.
FBI Director Patel, who flew to Utah on Thursday to personally supervise the investigation, praised law enforcement and closed with a message for Charlie Kirk.
Rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Cox, who has consistently called for unity amid the partisan furor around the murder, spoke directly to young people.
You are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now.
We have not received any official information in terms of a motive, but we know that Robinson was booked without bail on initial charges of aggravated murder and felony discharge of a weapon. We expect to see official charges from the FBI filed early next week. Maura Barrett, Scripps News Group, Orem, Utah.
Where we are now is actually a little outside of St. George in Washington, Utah, because this is the home of where that suspect, Tyler Robinson, lives. It's about 2 hours away from Las Vegas, and we've been here all morning and have seen law enforcement posted here throughout the day. You still see some officers here and some trucks. Now, it's fairly quiet with neighbors coming by to take a look, and it appears to be pretty close-knit with several who are part of the LDS Church, now surprised by what police say happened. Now, the governor held a news conference earlier, and we learned a lot of new information about the case, starting with how quickly an arrest came, just 33 hours from the time Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. In interviews with family, they found out Robinson had recently become more political. Investigators say he told family why he didn't like Charlie Kirk and that he was coming to Utah Valley University as part of a tour across college campuses. Now, according to a statement from Utah State University, Tyler James Robinson attended the school for one semester in 2021, and the governor said he is not a current student. Now, I spoke with one of his neighbors who was surprised at his arrest.
Why? Why would he do that? Why? What was he thinking? Because he's smart and he's cute and he's part of our neighborhood, I saw him grow up, yet I would have never thought that.
Now, investigators have charged him with aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice. For the Scripps News Group, I'm Justin Hinton.
In the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there's been a lot of talk about political discourse, rhetoric, vitriol, and violence, with elected leaders on both sides of the aisle here calling for a de-escalation.
I hope I have the correct number.
Hours after conservative political influencer Charlie Kirk was killed at Utah Valley University, House Democrats received this voicemail.
You should leave the state. You should find somewhere else to live, you murderous terrorist animals, you despicable subhuman violent disgusting animals. You murdered that man in front of his family, you evil pieces of subhuman garbage.
We don't know who the shooter was. We don't know what their intent was. Somebody was murdered, someone was executed, and we all agree that that was wrong.
House Minority Leader Angela Romero says she's seen political vitriol increase in recent years.
I think it's escalated, but I think we can tone it down if we all work together. But that means we all have to work together, and I don't know if everyone's willing to do that.
Political violence should never happen. Any type of violence should never happen. And the fact that it's continuing to happen, the Minnesota shootings that happened a couple months ago, a few months ago, and now this, and we can do better.
The House Speaker shares that view.
And I hope that it starts to tone down some of the rhetoric that's out there, some of the hateful things that are being said on all sides, and that we're able to come together.
Maury Giles heads Braver Angels, a group that tries to encourage healthy debate. They worked with Governor Spencer Cox on his Disagree Better initiative.
We get into this notion of feeling like there's a culture war that I have to fight for. The problem is that in doing that, and with the tools we have of social media, we dehumanize each other.
Giles says he hopes this is a wake-up call for everyone.
We have to be able to choose to do in this moment right now today is, how am I going to respond? Am I going to cascade to the corner of my tribe for fear of not being loyal to that tribe, or not doing what I need to do to not be alienated by them? Or am I going to step up and say, hold on a second, vigorous debate is a hallmark of the American experiment, but with contempt is not the way.
The Utah Department of Public Safety says it does investigate threats and provides security for elected officials. The speaker says they will also be reviewing that in the days to come. At the United States Capitol, there's also talk about increasing security for elected officials when they return to their home states.
I wouldn't be truthful if I said this didn't give me pause. Right? I've been in very vulnerable situations, and I've always said to myself, oh, it's Utah. I don't need to worry.
Ben Winslow, Scripps News Group.
I'm ABC 15 reporter Eleni Dow. With so much political divide going on right now, we're speaking with experts about what you can do to have civil conversations with your family, friends, and people online.
There's a lot of political discourse right now, and differing views can run emotions high.
What advice do you have for those who do have those conversations and they tend to disagree on their views?
The goal is never to change minds. Like, you have to ask yourself, do I want to be right, or do I want to preserve this relationship?
Mental health expert Nathaniel Bush says when you go into conversations about politics, the goal should not be about winning.
Focusing on the shared values, emphasizing common ground, it can help keep the conversation from feeling like us versus them.
With the shooting Wednesday, more conversations may spark between different political parties.
My only hope is that somehow the reaction, the prevailing reaction from what happened yesterday, is going to be a realization that as a society we are not where we want to be.
John Giles, the former mayor of Mesa and a co-founder of the initiative Disagree Better Arizona, says there needs to be better tolerance and respect for others.
It's very sad where we are as a society when you look at the discourse that's going on, the political discourse that's going on.
Some ways to keep political conversations civil: ask meaningful questions, be an active listener, and if things start to escalate, you can choose to walk away. Also remember that everyone is human, including the people you respond to on social media.
Behind every screen is a real human, and the words you say matter.
And it's okay to have different views.
Hopefully, something like this will help us realize that we need to take a step back, and we need to, as you say, lower the temperature and recognize the humanity of the people that we have talked ourselves into hating.
Relationships last longer than election cycles. Prioritize compassion and connection over political points.
Eleni Dow, Scripps News Group.
Inflation was up again last month, and so were unemployment claims. I'm Maya Rodriguez. Coming up, why that combination has some economists worried about stagflation and what that means for your wallet.
Scripps News, part of the Scripps News Group.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer say he will risk a government shutdown at the end of the month. That, he says, if Republicans don't meet Democratic demands. Schumer saying things have changed since March when he voted with Republicans to keep the government open. Right now, he's in lockstep with House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, opposing any legislation that doesn't include key health care provisions. Democrats want Republicans to extend the Affordable Care Tax Act credits. They also want Congress to roll back any Medicaid cuts from Trump's tax legislation that was passed earlier this year. Republicans say Democrats will be to blame if the government shuts down.
Economists are concerned about two separate pieces of federal data released on Thursday. They showed prices rising and an increase in unemployment claims. That's a troubling combination that presents a challenge for both consumers and the Federal Reserve. Inflation continues to tick up, and new federal data shows a growing number of people are out of work. That combination is causing concern about the potential for stagflation.
Stagflation is when the economy is weakening, weakening labor market, weakening GDP, but also we're seeing rising prices.
Consumer prices were up 2.9% in August compared to a year ago, rising at their fastest pace since January. Meanwhile, separate federal data showed 263,000 people submitted jobless claims last week, the most since October of 2021. Those conditions point to stagflation, but but a milder version than what Americans saw a half-century ago, says financial analyst Stephen Cates.
You could call that stagflation, but it is a far cry from the stagflation that is sort of built into the history books from the 70s and 80s.
The dual data indicates a challenging environment for consumers.
Stagflation is really a 1-2 punch for consumers. And we can think about this as like a gut punch and then taking one right to the chin.
Economic professor Abby Hall says the data is also a potential headache for the Federal Reserve, which would typically raise interest rates to curb inflation, but lower interest rates to help support a weakening jobs market.
The Fed has a really difficult task of trying to balance these two. And when you have an occasion where both are rising, the policy prescription is really unclear.
The Federal Reserve will meet next week and announce its interest rate decision on Wednesday. That Fed announcement will be watched closely. A number of analysts expect the central bank to announce a 0.25 percentage point cut next week. Maya Rodriguez, Scripps News Group, Washington.
150 Ohio National Guard troops were expecting to come home this month from patrolling Washington, D.C., but those plans just got delayed.
It damages morale. And it really damages the institution.
Veteran and state senator Casey Weinstein is disappointed in Governor Mike DeWine after he extended the 30-day surge in D.C. until the end of November. The original mission was to combat what President Donald Trump called a rise in crime.
Over the last year, it was a very unsafe place. Over the last 20 years, actually, it was very unsafe.
Data from D.C. police shows that violent crime is at a 30-year low, and some troops' duties include collecting garbage and landscaping.
Somebody who's out there on a mission that they're not even clear is a real need, right? And doing mulch or picking up trash, right? To me, that is a degradation of what the Guard is supposed to represent.
But after a month, Trump said that his mission of making D.C. safer has been accomplished.
It's got virtually no crime. We call it crime-free.
So why are the Ohio troops still there?
Head of the Washington, D.C. National Guard. One of the things he said to me is, Governor, you having people out here allows my people not to have to work, 14, 16-hour days.
The governor says that Ohio troops being in the Capitol allows for the police to tackle violent crime, while the National Guard members are patrolling buildings.
That's a very good reason for us to continue to have the Guard there to back the Guard up there.
DeWine has been standing by this decision because he says he tends to accept every ask for help, like he's done in the past for both Republican and Democratic leaders of other states during natural disasters, or from mayors when there's civil unrest in Ohio cities.
This is something that deserves extra scrutiny, particularly in the way that this deployment and this extension are being politicized.
Morgan Trow, Scripps News Group.
The Stop Illegal Entry Act of 2025 would create or increase a prison sentence for people who re-enter this country illegally. As proposed, that could range from 5 years to as severe as a life sentence. With a 226 to 197 vote, the House passed a bill Thursday that would increase prison sentences for people who repeatedly enter the U.S. illegally. It did have some bipartisan support, with 11 Democrats voting to pass the legislation through the House. The bill sets a mandatory minimum 5-year prison term and even allows for a life sentence for someone who enters illegally or attempts to and is then convicted of a felony. It also increases the maximum prison term for repeatedly illegal re-entry from 2 to 5 years.
It's just not the most effective way of dealing with immigration matters.
Pedro Rios, an immigrant rights advocate, says this bill won't deter people from re-entering illegally and instead cost taxpayers millions of dollars.
It's an extremely expensive venture to hold people and the taxpayer paying for people's detention.
The bill's sponsor says it's necessary to deter future illegal immigration and to respond to Biden-era immigration policies. Locally, Congressman Darrell Mesa voted yes, saying it was a solid addition to the transformative change President Trump has delivered since day one, while Vargas, Peters, and Levin voted against it. In individual statements, the three Democrats explained their reasons, citing things like cost to taxpayers, the need for immigration reform, and the penalties that already exist for people who commit serious crimes in the country. The bill now moves to the Senate for a vote. Laura Acevedo, Scripps News Group.
It's as easy as the flip of a switch for us to get light, but in some places, darkness can be constant. That changed when 15 Tennessee volunteers brought electricity to 2 Guatemalan villages for the first time. Line workers are no strangers to restoring power after storms, but this was no ordinary mission, transforming lives, not just repairing lines.
You turn somebody's lights on that's never had lights, it's a whole different experience.
For 17 days, crews worked in Corral Viejo and La Paz. Among them, 3 Middle Tennessee Electric linemen, Michael Diggs, Terrence Floyd, and Manny Bibian.
We had a bunch of poles we had to climb, wire we had to hang on the poles.
With the help of locals, they built nearly 8 miles of new power lines.
Some of that area hadn't been cleared. They're out there with machetes cutting that stuff down, you know, and we're trying to hike through some of that stuff.
And brought light to 28 homes, 2 schools, a small business, and a church.
Be able to keep medicine, different foods that, last longer, because everything that they had to eat it that day.
For many, this wasn't just a brighter day. It was their first time seeing a light bulb turn on.
They've never had power before.
For the linemen, that light reached inside too.
It makes you more appreciative of what you have. Them people have so little and they're content with it. And I find that me and my family sometimes take for granted what we have, and to realize that God has blessed us.
It wasn't easy. The work was tough, hot, and exhausting. But for all 3, the reward was worth it.
They were just so grateful, so happy. They couldn't believe that all they had to do was flip a switch and they were going to have lights.
Patsy Montesinos, Scripps News Group.
I don't know, we just didn't think it'd get this much traction because we were just there for doing what had to be done.
3 best friends, Cameron Inselberger, Carter Jacobson, and Gabriel Hernandez, are all seniors at Copper Hills High School. And on Tuesday morning, they were pulled out of class with no idea why. Until they saw their principal, superintendent, mayor, parents, and first responders clapping, thanking them for their courage.
Grateful and a little surprised.
Because in August, the trio leapt into action when they saw a house go up in flames.
Like, we got down there, no one knew who was in the house, and we went up to make sure no one was in there, and we saw a couple dogs.
They kicked the door down, all caught on the family's Ring camera, grabbing the 2 dogs.
And we got the little one out safely. We did get the big one out safely too. He just ran off and he ran up the street. Thankfully, somebody found him.
Zara Gonzalez and her family have lived in the house for nearly 2 years and are grateful to the boys' quick thinking.
We know that what they did took so much courage, and we know that they are very special. They are great in our community.
And on top of their heroics, the teens started a GoFundMe for the Gonzalez family and are happy they could help.
And I'm just very thankful that they got the help that they needed.
I'm John Matteries. Airfares are starting to move up for the holiday season. I'll show you the best way you can find some deals on flights for the holidays.
An ICE officer shot and killed a suspect in a Chicago suburb on Friday. Homeland Security says the suspect tried to evade arrest by driving his car at the officers and dragging one of them. The officer who was dragged then opened fire. The shooting happening in Franklin Park during ICE's ongoing enforcement operation in Chicago, which is being called Midway Blitz. President Trump says he will send in the National Guard to Memphis, Tennessee to address that city's crime concerns. The president claims the city's Democratic mayor and Tennessee's Republican governor both support the move, but the Shelby County mayor criticized the plan, says no one is happy with what he calls an occupation. White House has yet to confirm whether local officials actually requested the deployment. Memphis police report crime is at a 25-year low.
Investigators are revealing how a tip from the suspect's own father helped end this manhunt, and the details show this was a carefully planned attack. Authorities identified the suspect as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. He was taken into custody here in St. George on Friday morning after his father recognized him in police photos distributed nationwide. Officials say Robinson at first refused to surrender until his father contacted a youth pastor who also serves as a U.S. Marshals Task Force officer. That call ultimately led the FBI straight to Robinson.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
Investigators say Robinson arrived at the Utah Valley University on the morning of the shooting in a gray Dodge Challenger before carrying out the attack. Surveillance shows him moving across rooftops, then fleeing after that fatal shot. Authorities recovered his rifle wrapped in a towel and discarded along his escape route. Forensic teams are now analyzing the bullets engraved with messages left behind at the scene. Investigators are also crediting fast coordination between federal agents and local officers and a father who turned in his son, with bringing the suspect into custody in just 33 hours. Of course, this investigation remains ongoing. Reporting in St. George, Utah, I'm Melissa Bethencourt, Scripps News Group.
His legacy is just the start of everything right now.
This is Miyu Oda des Hotels. She volunteers as an ambassador for Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's nonprofit organization for conservative students.
He's a very nice guy.
Miyu met Kirk just last year.
Not at all. This should get tougher.
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was March 20th, 2024 at 7:20 p.m.
That's when Kirk visited San Diego State on one of his popular tours. Kirk was known for fostering engaging political debates, giving students on campuses across the country the chance to prove him wrong.
Wherever you stand with Charlie, he was okay with it. And he was accepting of it. And he may have been controversial in his response to you, but regardless, he didn't want to control you.
Miyu tells me she learned the proper ways to handle civil discourse from Turning Point and Kirk.
Starting off with thank you for your opinion.
Her respect for Kirk goes beyond politics.
I truly valued his faith. Just to make a global movement is also just admirable.
Of the greatest American comeback.
That global movement resonating, mostly with young adults.
I truly believe that he is the reason why President Trump won his election and had such huge margins with engagement with young adults. Charlie also took the opportunity to engage and pour his heart into the younger generation. And I don't think we've ever really seen that done before.
That's why she believes Charlie Kirk's legacy is just beginning.
Overcoming all these odds is one of the greatest stories ever told.
Danny Miskell, Scripps News Group.
We all idolized him. He was a great inspiration to all of us.
When she was 17, Aubrey Moore was inspired to become a political activist, and Charlie Kirk provided the spark.
He'd get on stage and just, the electricity sent through the building.
Aubrey got to meet Kirk twice during her time as an ambassador with Turning Point USA, the conservative organization that brought together young people from across the country.
You sit and you talk to him, and he's just so excited to talk to you and anything related to the movement and Gen Z.
Through Turning Point USA, she traveled to political events and was part of an outreach trip to Israel. Since then, Kirk's influence only grew, and he was credited with helping President Trump win the 2024 election. Outspoken Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna was also a former Turning Point USA member. She says she blames Kirk's killing on hateful rhetoric from the left.
He's my friend. He's part of the reason why I'm in office right now, and it's awful that it's taking this type of stuff to happen very publicly for people to realize what they're doing is wrong.
Aubrey, like so many others, are still shocked by Kirk's death. She had hoped what she was seeing online was some sort of AI creation.
We're still kind of getting over the shock, and the real sadness is really starting to hit.
Back in 2020, I talked with Aubrey about the TikTok page she started called the Republican Hype House. Her page eventually got to 1.2 million followers, using the platform to appeal to young people. At the time, she told me how her page would team up with the liberal Hype House, producing video duets and a live stream to raise money for coronavirus relief.
There's such a stereotype of the right hates the left and the left hates the right. And I think if we break that, especially with these upcoming generations, we may have some more peaceful elections.
TikTok eventually banned both pages. Now, 5 years later, the divide between political parties seems greater than ever, but Moore says Kirk's influence will live on.
There's such a fire in the community right now, and you take someone that speaks truth away and you create millions more.
In Wesley Chapel, Eric Waxler, Scripps News Group.
I'm Denver 7's Maggie Bryan near Evergreen High School. We're hearing from the family of one of the two school shooting victims for the very first time. Plus, we're learning more about what happened inside this building on Wednesday. The family of 18-year-old Matthew Silverstone released a statement, plus they released this photo of him. His family says they appreciate the community's concern and support, but are focused on his recovery and are asking for privacy. The name of the other victim has not been released, and the sheriff's office says to not expect a photo or a statement of that student from their family because they want to stay private for now. We saw the community really wrap their arms around one another at a vigil on Thursday night.
When I heard from law enforcement officers about what happened, they have videos in the school, and it was teachers that threw themselves in front of kids, not just saying that they would do anything to save their kids' lives, but actually doing it.
As investigators continue looking into the 16-year-old shooter's motive, we now know more about what happened on Wednesday. The sheriff's office says the shooter took the bus to school and used a handgun in the shooting. He continued to reload. They say he shot at students, hitting lockers and windows. A sheriff's office spokesperson says she has to believe the shooter was, quote, on a mission, and said he brought quite a bit of ammunition with him. That spokesperson, though, credited teachers and students for their quick actions, locking doors and taking cover inside classrooms. Investigators say they believe the shooter had been radicalized by some extremist network, but would not elaborate or go into any more specifics. Investigators say they are continuing to search the shooter's phone, his social media pages, his bedroom, and his locker. We also have a lot of questions about the weapon used in the shooting. The sheriff's office says they could not share any information about who owned the handgun that was used or how the shooter got his hands on it, but the sheriff's office says the shooter's parents have been very cooperative in this investigation.
His name is Desmond Hawley. He's 16 years old, obviously a student at Evergreen High School.
The sheriff's office confirming what Denver 7 investigates, first reported earlier in the morning. 16-year-old Desmond Hawley shot two classmates before turning the gun on himself.
There are cameras inside of the school, which is very powerful and important for us in our investigations. We're able to track his movement throughout the school.
And those cameras will help investigators answer key questions. Sheriff's office saying at this time it will withhold all video from surveillance and body-worn cameras.
I can't talk about what's been found at the suspect's house because I don't know. But I think that they found valuable information for our case.
Denver 7 Investigates captured this exclusive video shortly before sunset Wednesday night. Nearly a dozen law enforcement cars moved in to execute the search warrant. Specifics of what they uncovered were not disclosed, but they did find enough to reach this conclusion.
Based on some of the information that we're seeing about this suspect is that he was radicalized by some extremist network.
Tony Kovaleski, Scripps News Group.
OpenAI has reached a tentative deal to revise its partnership with Microsoft. The ChatGPT maker will give an equity stake worth at least $100 billion to the nonprofit that manages the organization. The changes allow OpenAI to move forward with restructuring from a nonprofit to a public benefit corporation. The deal with Microsoft is non-binding as the companies work to finalize contract terms. DC Comics has canceled a just-released comic book series after the author made inflammatory comments in the wake of the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The author of The Red Hood, Gretchen Felker Martin, allegedly wrote on social media after the news of Kirk's death, quote, "Hope the bullet's okay," end quote. DC Comics says comments that promote hostility are inconsistent with the company's standards. The series hit comic book stores Wednesday, and future issues were set to be released through June. A major subprime auto lender is going out of business. Tricolor filed for bankruptcy Wednesday and plans to liquidate rather than stay in business. The Texas-based company specialized in offering financing to car buyers without social security numbers or credit histories. Tricolor has not been available for comment.
How about we head west this week to the picturesque state of Montana and a little town that happens to have a river running right through it. This week, Jefferson Graham, our travel and tech contributor, takes us to Missoula. It is a college town with an historic downtown and, of course, that river. Jeff, what else would bring people to Missoula to visit?
Big skies, huckleberries, some great hiking, some rafting, and I have a little video here to show you, to give you a taste of Missoula. Let's take a look.
Oh, hi. Nice
you must
to
be
see
Emily.
You. Nah.
I'm Jeff. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for meeting me here at the M.
Yes.
The U of M.
The U of M.
Okay. And we're going to go to the Oval?
Yes, we're going to go to the Oval, see the clock tower. You know, they put a pumpkin on top of it for the entire month of October.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Well, let's go head
right over this way.
Yes.
This is the place. This evening, if you come back after the farmer's market, the sun will not be as harsh, and you can get the M, you can get people running and hiking the M, right behind the beautiful clock tower. You can see all the students having fun in the evening on campus, hammocking, hacky sack, all the fun stuff.
And get the iconic shot.
The iconic shot, the money shot on campus. The best shot of the M on the ground, I think, at least, is right here in the Oval. Anywhere you move, and so we're in an Oval here, you'll find something beautiful to look at, beautiful to shoot. You just follow the light.
For people who have not been to Missoula before, tell them about Missoula.
There's a lot of views. I think the access to different areas is amazing. 3 hours from Glacier, only 4 or so from Yellowstone, an hour from the Bitterroot, beautiful mountains down there. The Mission Mountains are beautiful, an hour away. You can see so many different landscapes.
And if you come here, the thing that you have to do over anything else is what?
In Missoula, you should probably go up the M if you can.
I think before you go back to work today, that's something we need to do.
We need to do it.
Okay, so let's go do it.
Okay. It's all up from here.
Yeah, okay.
It's a pretty steep one, but it's worth it, and you get a great view of the university, great view of town.
All righty, who's ready to hike with me?
Can you say drone? So let me ask you this. How did it feel to hike up there?
It was grueling, to be honest with you. It was grueling, but beautiful.
You know, you've covered a lot of places in Montana and have covered them on Photo Walks. How does Missoula compare?
Missoula, the really great people, and the other thing that's a big difference between like Bozeman, which we did an episode on earlier in the year. Bozeman has a nickname of Bose Angeles, and you've got all these rich people coming from other parts of the West Coast and coming to town and buying places up, and prices are going up, and shishi restaurants are coming in. Bozeman is just good folks. They're not getting the influx of out-of-towners in the same way. And, you know, I've been to Missoula a few times. It doesn't look that different. It doesn't look different at all. It's still good old honest Missoula, and a lot of fun to visit.
You know, thanks for taking us on your journey, Jefferson Graham. By the way, we can't wait to see where you are headed next week. And a reminder, you can catch each and every new episode of Photo Walks every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Central Time.
We're all busy, and the holidays may be the last thing on your mind right about now, but this is the best time to set fare alerts for holiday flights. That way, if and when fares drop, you'll be ready.
Travelers heading out on fall flights say the cheaper post-pandemic fares seem to be disappearing.
I can't remember the last time I found a trip for under $200.
I booked a ton of flights and airfares are out of control right now. Even like short 1 hour trips are like, $500, $600.
Getting the best deal on a holiday flight means not booking too early or too late, according to Clint Henderson, travel expert with the rewards and travel site, The Points Guy. He recommends booking Thanksgiving flights by the end of September and December holiday flights before Halloween.
Once we get to Halloween, prices will go up astronomically every day from then on.
Right now, airfare around the holidays is up 6 to 7% compared to last year. But Henderson says prices will fall between now and October.
You get a lot of people who are early birds who are already booking, and so prices are artificially inflated.
For the biggest savings, set price alerts with your favorite fare tracker. Book when you see prices drop. Be flexible with your dates and rebook later if prices drop, though that's a tactic that won't work with basic economy fares. We also wanted to know, is it worth asking an AI chatbot like ChatGPT for help? According to Henderson,
it's just not there yet. However, I always say use every tool in the toolbox.
Leo Stenger is booking holiday flights for his family now to avoid stress later.
Always book 3 months early, if possible. They say if they go down, you're better off, but I never take the chance.
So start looking now and set fare alerts on Google, Kayak, or similar tracking sites so you don't waste your money. John Matteries, Scripps News Group.
How hot is too hot? Well, according to this Arizona black rattlesnake, the desert heat is getting too much. We're taking a look at how extreme heat is impacting our native species. So check this out. This is an Arizona black rattlesnake. It's one of 13 native species here in the state of Arizona. I'm ABC 15 meteorologist Justin Hobbs. While these native species may be used to heat, Arizona's new extreme heat due to climate change is causing a harsh impact on multiple native species.
The Sonoran Desert, home to our iconic saguaro cactus. But prolonged heat waves have driven annual death rates from just 1% to 2% annually to nearly 7%, according to researchers at the Desert Botanical Garden. But saguaros are just one part of the story. Native species are also taking a hit.
25 years of radio tracking desert rattlesnakes, I'd never had rattlesnakes fail to emerge after hot weather in the summer.
Mike Carbell, a consulting wildlife biologist, says in 2023 he made a shocking discovery.
We had 2 adult western diamondbacks underground during a record hot July and never came up.
You know, being ectotherms, you know, they're not like us where, you know, we sweat to cool ourselves down. They will get to the temperature that they are around them, and they will stay that temperature until they find someplace cooler.
These species are taking a hard hit as rising night temperatures cut into the cooler hours they rely on to safely hunt.
Sometimes it can be to the point that it gets so hot that stuff doesn't move, and we see certain species die to starvation because they don't ever come out to look because it's too hot.
Sometimes your average is around 100 degrees. You know, when that happens for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days in a row, in the case of July 23, those underground burrow temperatures can get up to the lethal temperature for the snakes. If it's happening to the rattlesnakes, my guess is hard to imagine not happening to other species as well.
And one is all it takes to throw off an entire food chain.
That tells us that we got to pay attention to it, and we have to notice these little things, because ecosystems, in very, very rare cases, does everything just die off or pass all at once.
You know, it's a slow process, but it's speeding up as we go. And yeah, I think we've been in a tipping point for several years.
Justin Hobbs, Scripps News Group.